Hey, welcome back. Today we have a treat. We have an author extraordinaire. This woman doesn't train horses. The horses train her. You're going to love this. My name is Vin Dacquino. Her name is Stephanie Rogers.
Hello,
Stephanie,
Vinny.
always
So
a
nice.
pleasure.
So
a
nice
friend,
to be here.
an author. Stephanie, tell them who you are. Who are you? What is your passion?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it better than you just did.
Glad to hear that.
I don't train horses, they train me. I'm a New York City native. I did New York City things. I spent some time trying to be in the theater, spent more time being on Wall Street. And about 11 years ago, there was a precipitating event that made me decide I had to change my life.
So you went from Wall Street to the corrals.
I've always loved horses. My first memory is riding a horse on Coney Island when I was 4.
Wow.
But that's ridiculous. I'm from New York City. I wasn't rich. You don't do this sort of thing. But in 2005, my mother died over a weekend.
Wow.
And I'd always dreamed of having a life with horses someday. I suddenly realized the number of some days I had were finite. So I took a training program, I quit my job, I bought my first horse,
Wow.
and I proceeded to get the absolute crap beat out of me.
Yeah, that first experience was a wild experience.
First experience, second experience.
Oh, no.
But what the book is about, I will also confess that I was a very disturbed person, a very unhappy person. I sought comfort in all the wrong ways. And I'm not going to go into detail about that because I think Chelsea Handler's got that covered. But I will say that I was under psychiatric treatment, under therapy. I spent a stint of time on medication to try to deal with depression issues, and nothing helped. And when I started this new life, I gave up a 6-figure salary,
Wow.
a New York City rent-stabilized apartment,
Wow.
and a relationship to pursue something that just didn't look like it was working out. And just when I thought I would never have the courage to get on a horse again, this horse came into my life.
Now, when we say this horse, here it is. I love the title, The Horse I Belong To. Horse kind of took you over.
She certainly did. I was working with a trainer who didn't think much of her because she was an abandoned horse. I never knew her breeding. I never knew her age. She was not very athletic. And when this trainer was trying to get me to give her up and get a good horse because I wanted to compete,
Yeah.
I just couldn't. And she said, this horse doesn't belong to you. You belong to her. And I said, that is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because something remarkable happened to me when this horse came into my life. We were both troubled. We had both been abused. But we found each other. As this horse began to trust me, I began to trust me. As this horse began to respect me, that's the first time I ever knew what it felt like to be respected. And there was one incident when we were working with some friends in the ring. We were doing formation riding, which I just thought would be a good way of honing our skills and gaining precision. So somebody had the sheaf of papers with all of these dressage exercises, and I went to get it, and it scared her to pieces, and she flew out, and I dropped the paper. And when it was safe, I got down to look at her, and I saw a look in her eyes. She was looking at me. She was so frightened, and she said, "Save me, save me." And I was so moved by that, because here was this 1,000-pound animal
Yeah.
looking to me to make it all right. And my relationship with this horse was perhaps the first time in my life I felt I could.
A couple months ago, we had as a guest a woman who owns and runs a horse orphanage. And I was so fascinated that they were saving rescue horses, and rescue horses were saving people.
Oh, absolutely.
They were bringing people to the ranch, and they were forming relationships, and these people found themselves through these animals.
There's an organization called EGALA, Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association. Equine assisted therapy has been in existence for many years now. It's used in prison programs, it's used in mental health situations, and it's used in physical therapy because there's something called the theory of comparable parts. If you put somebody on a horse who can't even walk, the movement of the horse seems to stimulate the equivalent nerves and muscles in the person. On top
So
of
it's
what
physical as well as mental.
Well, yes,
Can be,
and ironically, people think riding horses must be great exercise. Not really. The better you ride, the less muscles you're using.
Oh.
But what riding is it is 90% mental. Keep one leg on either side and your mind in the middle is good advice for riding a horse.
I like that.
And one of the reasons these therapies work, for example, the prison programs, these horses don't care how big you are, how bad you are, what gang you belong to. This horse is bigger, faster, stronger, sees better, hears better. This horse, if the horse doesn't want to deal with you, it won't. And if the horse wants to get you, it will.
It will, yeah.
And you have to connect at a different level. Horses are also masters of the heart. Horses respond to the genuine. Many of us don't know who we are. We've never allowed ourselves to access that wisdom part of us. But that is something that horses are masters at. And my experience with horses, I'd like to be a great horseman, woman. I would like to train horses. But let's be real. I just started this 10 years ago. The great ones are third-generation horsemen who have done thousands of horses. But where this journey is taking me,
in the beginning, was pretty frightful for you too. This first horse experience. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And the second, I remember you're telling stories about that. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to own a horse. It's scary.
Well, they're big.
Yeah.
They average 1,100 pounds.
Wow.
A horse is only ever this far away from being a wild animal. Never underestimate their self-preservation instincts. Then there's simple issues like pain. The only way they can explain it to us, unless you're really perceptive, is to buck you off.
Yeah.
And
you were thrown off a couple times.
Yes. More times than I can count.
Wow.
And my second experience was worse. I don't want to give away too much of the book.
Yeah, okay.
But,
so the book focuses on the first experience as well as the second experience, as well as the wonderful experience that you're going through now.
With Shy, where she brought me to myself. She is the one who made me believe in myself. And as I was saying before, where this journey's turned out to be, because there are so many people who know more about horses, are better at training them, where the journey is taking me is the path of enlightenment through horse. Because nothing else I've ever experienced, none of the human therapists or the readings I've done have taken me the places that the relationship with this horse has. And that is where I found my place. And it's paying off because of what I accomplished with this horse, who was not a good horse. After 7 horse shows, she and I became the 2015 Grand Champions in our division. in the little organization in which we show. And because of that, I now been asked to judge the trail course, which was an event no one could take from us. It got out that I wish I had more horses, and a local trainer said, I've got horses I can't ride, come on up. And
Wow.
so I've been riding horses for her, and actually I understand one of those horses is going to be competing against me in the next horse show.
Oh, for goodness sakes, wow.
And so I'm going to be competing against a horse, essentially. I
Now,
trained.
you also had a recent achievement. You've written an article for Equus magazine.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. That's
Through my entire life, I've written journals. I've written journals to try to keep sane, to try to keep myself from really going crazy. And when I started this life, it was such a dramatic change from what I had done. I started a journal about my new life. And I wrote an essay about an experience I had with her at a horse show that absolutely demonstrated to me the power we have to create our own lives. And the story is, it was a blazing hot day, a horrible humidity, mid-90s, humidity in the 80s, horrible day. We were late to the horse show. I didn't have a chance to warm up. I was all frazzled, and she wasn't paying attention to me. And
paying attention to the weather and the humidity, probably.
well, I don't think horses are as sensitive to that as we are.
Oh, really?
Horses accept. You know, horses get old, they get lame, they get blind.
Yeah. Like Gus?
But the difference is we feel bad about it. Oh, what am I going to do? Oh, my hair's getting gray. Ah. Horses don't care.
They just deal with it day by day?
Deal with it. And this is one of the things they can teach you. But there was a moment just before we went in when suddenly my mindset changed, and I stopped thinking about, why won't this horse do what I want? And I started thinking, oh my Lord, I am so grateful that I've come to this place in my life, that I have horses in my life, and that I can do things with them. And the instant my mindset changed from, why aren't I getting what I want, to, I am so grateful to be here. That horse came into my space, into my mind, and I in hers. And we got 4 first places, 1 second place, and came home with reserve champion for the show. Nothing I've ever experienced proved to me the power your state of mind has to create your life. And I sent this essay to Equus magazine, and they bought it.
Wow.
So I'm very excited because
Equus is right up there. They're premier horse magazine.
I think it's one of the most prestigious of the general interest horse magazines, and I wouldn't have believed it 10 years ago. I wanted to be a horse person, and I wanted to be a writer. And it really didn't look like it was going to happen. But oh my word, how my world has changed since
and
this
in
horse.
order to have your world work, you have to be working inside. And you have to know who you are. You have to find your place. And horses can help you do that.
Well, I think that the mind of a horse is really a healthy place to be. They live in the moment. They don't hold on to grudges. And I'm talking about horses who haven't been messed up by humans, you know. They take the emotion out of it. You do something, it doesn't work, they try something else. Now, like me, especially in my career in finance or my career in theater, if I didn't get it, if I got it wrong, oh, I'm so stupid, what I have to do. Horses don't mess with that.
Get flustered.
That didn't work, let me try something else. And oh my goodness, again, when you change your mind, when you start to look at things without the emotion, you find out things just happen. They don't happen to you. So you're not actually the center of the universe, as most of us think we are. And if you open your heart from this ego-centered view, and now I'm borrowing from the wisdom traditions and Deepak Chopra and people like that, ego is where we are when we're talking about me, my, mine, I want it now.
Oh, yeah.
And ego is necessary in like our daily life because you have to earn a living and you have to pay the bills and you have relationships with people that you have to maintain. But it is not inclusive, it's exclusive. It's me and you.
What about horse to horse? Do horses have kindred relationships with each other?
Oh, clearly. Clearly. There is a hierarchy in the herd, which is
really?
very clear. But the difference is horses don't communicate the way we do, which is why I think people and horses have clashed so much over the millennia. Horses communicate through body language, and we get angry when they don't understand what we're trying to tell them, because this is what our trainer told us to do.
Yeah.
But, you know, the horse, unless the horse has been taught to give to pressure, the horse doesn't know
So
what
there is
this
body
means.
language.
There is body language, and using your body, I have found to be more effective than even using your hands and legs on a horse. I mean, you start with this and with this, but when you and the horse have really found your communication, it's like dancing. It's like dancing. I was a dancer.
The horse actually becomes a partner.
The horse becomes a partner. And in fact, that was something, I ran into somebody who'd seen us compete, and they said, you know, when you and Shai were together, you looked like you were one person. When you were riding her, you looked like you were one person.
Yeah.
And I said, I never felt like I was riding her. I always felt like we were dancing. And this other woman said, yes, yes. That's exactly what it looks like. But
you know, the one thing that absolutely amazes me, I went to that horse orphanage with my grandson.
uh-huh. I'm familiar with it, by the way.
Oh, and we walked up to the fence, and the horse came, and my grandson, who was like 12 at the time, turned to me and says, Papa, he knows I'm here. And it was almost as if he could sense. And when he reached up to this horse, the horse reached back to him. And there was a communication, an instant communication.
And it's so much easier with children.
Oh.
Because they haven't piled on the layers of
You're
Michigas
right.
that
They
we
can
adults
appreciate
develop.
the communication. Sometimes we spend so much time, you're right, thinking about how we feel. We forget horses have feelings too. And we stop communicating. You know, we do the dictating. But horses sense who we are and how we feel. It always amazes me to look into a horse's eye, that huge eye.
Yeah.
You can see so much. They actually seem as if they're trying to speak to you through those eyes. It is fascinating.
I believe they are. They're very social animals. They live in herds. It's a terrible thing to isolate a horse. But this is exactly why they have therapeutic value in behavioral and psychological settings. The horse knows immediately what's going on. It could take the therapist months to figure it out. And you know that when you go to ride a horse, before you even touch that horse, the horse knows how well you ride.
Oh, yeah.
They know exactly what they can get away with.
Yeah, we're sizing up the horse, but they're sizing us up too.
They are so much better at it than we are. And so when you get out of your ego mind, which we're humans, for our entire existence, we have convinced ourselves that we are the absolute apex of all creation, that the planet...
We underestimate horses?
I think we underestimate all animals.
All animals, wow.
We spend all this effort looking for intelligent life in the universe. We haven't even recognized it here. We think they're less than us because they're not us. And because, well, we use tools. Well, you know what? Crows use tools. Crows can make tools.
Steph, you have some unbelievable quotable gems in your book. Do you want to share one or two of those quotes with us? Is there a particular thing in your book that we need to take away from us when we read your book?
Oh my goodness. To narrow it down to one quote,
particular theory, a
Well-
particular belief that we need to never forget about the relationship of a person and his or her horse?
I think if I could narrow it down to one thing, I would like to say that living in the mind of a horse is living in a good place.
Wow.
And if you can find the way to live in the moment, to let go of grudges, to take the emotion out of it, and to be positive, you will find your life turning around. And there is no better example of this than me. I have a horse, I have a book, I have an article coming out in Equus, I'm writing, I'm showing.
So the focus of the article in Equus is on the relationship with a horse?
The focus of the article in Equus is how,
Trying, it could be.
when I let go of me, my, mine, when I opened my mind and my heart to where I was and who I was with, everything worked. When I was locked in me, my, mine, what I want it now, why aren't I,
Yeah.
grr, it wasn't happening. And the horse is a guide. The horse is a teacher. And if you let her, she can take you there.
So would you say that there is almost a spiritual connection with a horse?
For me, there certainly is. I'm not a religious person, but in
But there is
horses,
something beyond the human existence that happens there.
here is another reason I think this horse made a difference in my life. A lot of people are familiar with 12-step programs. First step is you admitted you were powerless over whatever it was. The second step is came to believe that a higher power could return us to sanity. I could never find a higher power because I'm not religious and I'm an atheist, okay? But when this horse came into my life, what happened between us? Whenever I was with this horse, I became more than human.
Wow.
The horse did not become my higher power, but what we became when we were together was more than either of us alone. And that, I think,
So you found a higher power within yourself, and you found a better you through this horse?
not within myself.
Within the two
What
of you?
she and I became together
Ah,
was my higher power.
wow.
It's not me. It's not her.
It's
It
together.
was what we became when we formed that link. And I think that that's why I'm having the opportunities I have now. I don't have a lot of experience. You know, I've been doing this 10 years. She's the first horse I ever had I could ride. But something magic happened between us. And a piece of it is happening with the other horses I ride now.
Was it a love at first sight, or was it a gradual understanding of each other?
It was not a love at first sight. I looked at her. I don't even know why I brought her to the barn on a trial, because I didn't think I'd ever ride a horse again. I was afraid to touch her. I had to have somebody else take her
And
out of
did
the
she
horse
know?
trailer. Oh, she knew.
She knew.
Her head was up there. The whites around her eyes were showing. We let her loose in her new field, and she pounded off in a bucking gallop, trying to comfort herself. And I don't know what it was, but the trainer I was working with said, I'm not impressed with this horse, but let me give you a lesson on her. We did the lesson, and she said, no, a lot wrong with this horse. I'm not impressed, but we can work with this. And later on, she told me why she gave the okay on this horse. She said the horse told her she would not hurt me,
Wow.
and she never has.
Wow.
Nor have any of the horses after her.
So now with hindsight, was leaving Wall Street a good idea?
It certainly was. I'm glad I didn't know what I was getting into there. I have no talent with numbers, and I had no interest in Wall Street, but I did.
How did you end up there if it wasn't what, I mean, did it take a while to realize you were in the wrong place at the wrong time?
I was trying to be an actor. I was in a bad marriage that was dissolving. It didn't look like I was going to make it as an actor, and I didn't want to be a 40-year-old waitress. I'd also left school 10 years ago, and I was going to lose my college credits. So it was in January, and I went to Baruch, because I just never saw myself as a college dropout. Went to Baruch, and the only course open was macroeconomics. There's a macroeconomics. I don't even know what that is. I'll register in the spring. But something in me said, no, if you don't go back to school right now, you never will. So I took macroeconomics, and I saw it was like an art trying to be a science. And finance, it's about how do you ascribe value to things. And I thought, well, that would be interesting to know. How do you value things? And besides, if I couldn't have love, I wanted money. And I wanted as much as I could make. And the most overpaid profession I could get into, this was the early 80s, was Wall Street. So I did.
Well, Steph, we have about 1 minute. I know you did speak to the audience about why you are where you are. Any final thoughts? If you want to be who you want to be, go find them.
Well, I don't know if I'm any expert on that, but Christian Northrup once said, Dr. Christian Northrup, we were all put on this earth for a reason. And if you don't know what it was, think about what was important to you when you were 11. Wow. When I was 11, all I cared about was horses, and I finally found my place, and this is it. Well,
ladies and gentlemen, whether you're 11 or 111, the real you is somewhere in there. If you haven't found that real you yet, maybe you need a horse. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of it. You were wonderful.
Thank you.
Your book is wonderful.
Thank you.
Keep on doing what you're doing. Say hello to that horse for me. And you, tune in. Stay with us. A lot of good writers on the way. People with passion. Wonderful. Did a great job.
Cut.